The Cottonwood County Citizen proudly presents Athlete of the Week. Mountain Lake Family Fitness is a 24-hour locally owned fitness center in downtown Mountain Lake. We feature cardio, free weights, weight machines, and tanning beds. Call today at 507-427-8900 or stop by 208 10th Street North in Mountain Lake and see what we can do for you.
I'm joined right now by Mountain Lake senior Micah Holmberg, our athlete of the week this week. Congratulations, Micah.
Thank you.
Let's go back to Wednesday's game against Nicollet. And, going into that game, the weather conditions were, really, kind of not real conducive to quality football. But for a team that kind of likes to ground and pound a little bit, that was right up you guys' alley on Wednesday night.
Oh yeah.
What was the game plan going in? Because I believe when I talked to Coach Kirk, he said that he felt that you guys had a physical advantage and should be able to run the football.
Yeah, the game plan definitely was to run the ball majority of the time, especially with the weather. And the game plan going in was more or less of just score and defense-wise, just stop them, try and hold them to 0 points was our goal defensively. Because Nicollet hasn't they've averaged, I think, 22 points a game this year. So I think our varsity held them to 0, and then I think they scored once on the JV. So
Nicollet, though, presented a really unique challenge in that they are a team that really likes to put the ball in the air, and they've got a really good quarterback. They've got a really good set of receivers. Tell me about the challenge of defending against a team like that.
One of the biggest challenges is that their quarterback was very mobile in the pocket, and he could escape pretty well and still get a good throw off. And they had 3 pretty good receivers that were able to get around our guys and get open, even though we could pass rush pretty effectively, I'd say. He could roll out of the pocket and still get a throw off. That was pretty challenging.
What's that been like for you, working with, a new quarterback this year and a new tailback this year and a lot of different weapons in the passing game?
What it's like, well, for me, I've had Marcos as a quarterback all through JV, so it wasn't too different along that sense. But being able to pass pretty effectively is something that I haven't really seen much as a varsity player, so that was a little different. And having a tailback behind me that's different than Mace was, still was it's pretty different, all of our threats. Our threats
yeah. And if you look at the stats from, throughout the season, you've had a couple of 100-yard games. Marcos has had a couple of 100-yard games. Colby has had a couple of 100-yard games. And of course he went off for 230 against Medelia in week 7. And most of that was in one quarter. That's a pretty potent trio of weapons. And that's not even talking about the passing options.
Yep.
And for you as a fullback, it's, you're generally not usually the running threat. I imagine that you take a certain amount of pride in being Colby's personal road grader.
Oh yeah.
What's the biggest thrill about being the lead blocker and opening the holes for a guy like that?
Seeing him break one. That's what it's about. I stuff my linebacker, I do my job, and then I see Colby break one. That's the biggest thrill I have.
What's the challenge getting through Tuesday and looking ahead to Saturday?
The biggest challenge is probably trying not to overlook Tuesday because, anything can happen. It's high school football. Nobody's guaranteed another game.
And of course, the goal is getting to the turf.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you get to the turf, you might have another shot at Hills Beaver Creek. And Hills Beaver Creek is a team that you've beaten this season, but they ended your season last year. How much was that game a year ago a motivating factor for this year?
That game was actually huge because as a motivating factor in the gym at Mountain Lake Family Fitness, we actually wrote on a whiteboard the score, which I believe was 52-7, 54-7. I can't remember exactly, but it was on the whiteboard. So every single day when you walked into the gym and you saw that, you were like, hey, this is why we're practicing to beat Hills and move on, make it farther. Yeah, my most memorable sports moment was the 2019 game at the bank. It was 4th and I want to say 5 or 6. I don't remember exactly. And we did a fake punt, and I was the lead blocker for Abe Stace. And I blocked my guy, and then he made the first down, which was a huge turning point in that game. It's a good mix between like hip hop, rap, and a little bit of country in there. From section wise, probably Hills. They're always the most physical team in our section. But looking at from what I've seen and heard this year, I think Lanesboro's pretty good, and Leroy was pretty physical too when we played them. But definitely I think Lanesboro is a pretty solid team. My teammates would probably describe me as like funny, but at some time when the situation calls, get pretty serious and motivating, getting into depending on the situation, My favorite hobby right now is I'm restoring 2 cars right now. One is a 1965 Mustang, and the second is mine, 1973 Mach 1. So that's mostly what I do on my off time.
And of course, you're a senior this year. Have you started looking at colleges, or what are you looking at doing?
So I'm actually applying for the NROTC scholarship with the Marine Corps. So getting that would be I'd be an officer in the Marine Corps, and it'd be $180,000 going toward a college that supports that scholarship. And right now I'm looking at Iowa State is a pretty big contender of that.
Well, that should be all we need. Congratulations on a big win last week. Best of luck this week as the playoffs get underway, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Mountain Lake Family Fitness is a 24-hour locally owned fitness center in downtown Mountain Lake. We feature cardio, free weights, weight machines, and tanning beds. Call today at 507-427-8900 or stop by 208 10th Street North in Mountain Lake and see what we can do for you.